By all rights, Darth Vader should never have been a dangerous lightsaber duelist again after Mustafar. Anakin Skywalker's fighting style had thrived on speed, agility, and explosive attacks, but now he was missing 3 limbs. His lungs were destroyed, his body was locked inside heavy life support armor, and every movement had to be relearned through mechanical prosthetics. He could no longer rely on the acrobatic speed that had once made Anakin so unpredictable. His armor restricted him, his breathing announced his presence, and a single well-aimed strike against his life support systems could end the fight. On paper, Mustafar had turned one of the most gifted fighters in the Jedi Order into a slow, vulnerable cyborg. So how did this exact man become the deadliest lightsaber duelist of his era? How could Vader defeat Jedi who were faster, more agile, and more technically versatile than he was? And why did so many of his opponents realize far too late that they had already lost the fight? The answer doesn't lie in some secret 8th lightsaber form. Vader discovered something far more dangerous. He didn't have to fully overcome his physical limitations. He had to reshape his entire fighting style so that those limitations no longer mattered. What emerged wasn't an ordinary lightsaber style. It was a personal system built specifically to punish every mistake an opponent made. And to understand how Vader created this system, we first have to go back to the fighting style that had made Anakin Skywalker nearly unbeatable, and that ultimately cost him everything on Mustafar. As a young Jedi, Anakin still experimented with Form 4 Ataru, a fast acrobatic style of leaps, spins, and attacks from unusual angles. For an exceptionally athletic Force user, it seemed perfect at first, but Anakin didn't just want to confuse his opponents, he wanted to overwhelm them. So his focus shifted to Form 5, and especially to its dueling variant, Gem So. Its principle was simple: don't just block an attack, but immediately turn the defense into a devastating counterattack. Gem So rewarded physical strength, dominance, and offensive pressure. Exactly the traits Anakin already possessed. His blows were so powerful that even a technically superior opponent lost strength with every block. Count Dooku experiences this in their final duel. Dooku fights with Makashi, an elegant form developed specifically for lightsaber duels. Small movements, precise thrusts, controlled footwork. Dooku wastes almost no energy, but against Anakin's brutal series of attacks, every successful block becomes a burden in itself. The Count can parry the blows, but not indefinitely. Anakin drives him back, takes both his hands, and ends the fight. At this point, Gem So looks almost unstoppable, but this style had a dangerous flaw. It worked best as long as Anakin controlled the rhythm. If an opponent could evade his attacks, survive his rage, and wait for the inevitable mistake, strength suddenly turned into predictability. And no one understood that better than Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan's preferred form was Soresu, Form 3, the most disciplined defensive form of the Jedi. Its movements stayed close to the body. No unnecessary spins, no wide swings, and as little wasted energy as possible. A Soresu master didn't have to defeat an aggressive opponent right away. He only had to outlast him. On Mustafar, these two philosophies collided head-on. Anakin attacked, Obi-Wan gave ground. Anakin increased the pressure, Obi-Wan stayed patient. The angrier Anakin became, the more quietly Obi-Wan dictated the direction of the fight. He didn't try to out-muscle Anakin's power. He let him attack until his rage produced an opening, then came the jump. A single, impatient attack was enough, and Anakin's greatest advantage became his downfall. But this is exactly where the real story of Darth Vader's fighting style begins. Because Vader did something Anakin almost never had. He treated his defeats like lessons. Dooku had shown him that raw power without precision is wasted. Obi-Wan had shown him that patience can destroy a stronger opponent. And Mustafar had proven to him that a single unnecessary attack is enough to lose everything. Only a few days later, Vader essentially had to start over from zero. In the Legends novel Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, it's described how alien his new body felt to him at first. His vision was limited, his artificial hands were too large for his old grip, and the armor hindered many of the movements Anakin had performed effortlessly. His new lightsaber hilt had to be thicker and longer. Even simple combinations suddenly felt wrong. Vader still possessed enormous power, but power alone wasn't enough. In his early fights after Mustafar, he still looked stiff and unfinished. He could defeat opponents through sheer strength, but he left openings Anakin would never have allowed before. And then the adaptation began. Vader stripped away almost every movement that didn't serve an immediate purpose. No acrobatic stunts, no spin just because it looked impressive, no long combination when a single, precise strike would do. That was the moment his armor stopped being purely a disadvantage. His mechanical limbs generated a force almost no ordinary opponent could withstand. He didn't need to strike fast when a single hit already shattered his opponent's defense, but by now Vader knew that strength alone was predictable. So he combined the power of Gemso with the precision he had seen in Dooku and with Obi-Wan's defensive patience. Star Wars gives this hybrid no official name of its own. That's crucial because Vader was no longer bound by the limits of a single form. He built a system for his own body and his own personal weaknesses. His blows were heavy, but controlled. Often he attacked only once or twice and immediately returned to a closed defense. Instead of overwhelming his opponent with endless combinations, he waited for a reaction and punished it. His two-handed grip could shove an enemy blade out of position through sheer force. When he fought one-handed, the other hand stayed free for a force push, a chokehold, or an attack using objects from the surroundings. And here, it becomes clear why it's misleading to describe Vader's method as merely a lightsaber style. His lightsaber was only the first layer. The second layer was the Force. Vader treated his environment like another weapon. He tore machines out of walls, hurled debris, destroyed platforms, or pulled the ground out from under an opponent's feet. Even if someone could block his blade, they had to reckon with attacks from several directions at once. On Bespin, Vader demonstrates this against Luke. He fights in a controlled way at first, often one-handed. Then he even deactivates his blade for a time and sends objects from the room flying at Luke. Luke is no longer fighting just a swordsman. The entire room is attacking him. But even that wasn't the most dangerous layer. Vader's third weapon was psychological control. In Legends, this form of Sith warfare is called Dun Mush. The opponent is provoked, unsettled, or deliberately reminded of his greatest doubt. The goal isn't to have an interesting conversation during the fight. Vader wanted to force an emotional reaction. Fear makes movements cautious. Rage makes them uncontrolled. Guilt turns attention inward. Each of these reactions creates openings, so Vader fought on 3 levels at once. Against the body, against the environment, and against the mind. And with that, he held an advantage most surviving Jedi were not prepared for at all. For nearly 1,000 years, the Jedi had barely fought any real Sith. Many had experience with blaster fire, droids, or military conflicts, but not with an opponent who knew their own techniques and was, at the same time, willing to cross every moral line. Vader also criticized the Inquisitors for still fighting like Jedi. They defended, waited, and attacked only when a suitable opportunity arose. To Vader, that was a mistake. For him, a fight wasn't won if both sides survived. And his lessons were subtle to match. About as subtle as a severed arm. But just how complete this system had truly become only showed against opponents who were themselves among the most dangerous fighters in the galaxy. Ahsoka Tano was able to hold her own against him for a long time on Malachor. She was fast, experienced, and knew Anakin's old movement patterns. Even so, Vader steadily pushed her back. Only when she damaged his mask and recognized Anakin's face did something change. For a brief moment, she was no longer fighting just Darth Vader. She reached the man beneath the armor. The same thing happened later with Obi-Wan. In their last known confrontation before the Death Star, Obi-Wan deliberately targeted Vader's chest control panel and damaged his helmet. He didn't just know Vader's technique, he knew the person that technique had grown out of. That pointed to the one real weakness of the system. But before it became fully visible, Vader had to fight a man whose fighting style should have been his perfect opposite, Maul. In Maul Shadow Lord, two former apprentices of Darth Sidious meet directly in combat for the first time. Maul stands for speed, aggression, and unpredictable attack patterns. His style is open, explosive, and designed to give the opponent no time to think. Against a seemingly slow fighter in heavy armor, he should have the advantage. But instead, the opposite happens. Vader faces Maul, the Jedi Devon Izara, and Master Daki all at once. His movements are heavy, and yet surprisingly fast. But he moves only when it's necessary. It almost seems as if he already knows where the next blow will land. Maul's aggression doesn't help him. Every additional attack gives Vader more information. Every open movement creates a chance to counter. And the more desperately Maul tries to regain the rhythm, the more firmly Vader controls the fight. What's especially striking is that Vader stays silent throughout the confrontation. Normally, he provokes his opponents, but in his eyes, Maul apparently doesn't even deserve an answer. Vader's breathing is enough. The silence itself becomes a psychological weapon. Maul can neither overpower him physically nor reach him emotionally. Between him and Anakin, there is no connection like the one with Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, or Luke. There is no memory, no guilt, and no buried affection that could shake Vader's focus. That's why Maul isn't facing an inwardly torn Anakin. He's facing the system in its purest form. Maul eventually realizes he cannot control this fight. He uses the Force to create an escape route and withdraws. The former Sith who had even stood against Darth Sidious in person chooses not to continue the fight. And Dave Filoni later stated very clearly what this scene was meant to show. To him, Vader is the more perfect, more powerful, and more destructive weapon of the Emperor. Maul, by contrast, is a broken, desperately struggling version of evil. But Vader's fighting style wasn't perfect. His greatest advantage was his emotional control over others. His greatest weakness was that certain people could do exactly the same to him. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan reached Anakin beneath the mask. Luke went even further. On the second Death Star, Vader tried to drive his son into blind rage with the threat against Leia. Dun-Mook was meant to make Luke lose control and thereby create an opening. But this time the strategy backfired. Luke had enough power to turn his rage into a series of blows that even Vader could no longer stop. He drove his father back, forced him to his knees, and cut off his hand. Vader's own psychological attack system had unleashed the very power that overwhelmed his defense, but even Luke didn't win through better lightsaber technique alone. He won because deep down, Vader no longer fully wanted to fight. And with that, what really made Vader's style so deadly becomes visible. He wasn't the fastest fighter, not the most agile, and probably not the most technically perfect duelist in the entire saga either, but no one had turned his own defeats into weapons so relentlessly. Dooku gave him precision. Obi-Wan forced him into patience. Mustafar took away his agility and taught him efficiency. His armor gave him mechanical strength, and his pain supplied the dark side with almost inexhaustible fuel. Darth Vader didn't develop an eighth lightsaber form. He created something more dangerous. A fighting style in which every strike, every force attack, and even every word served a single goal: to force the opponent into a mistake. Anyone who fought Vader was therefore never fighting just a man with a red lightsaber. They were fighting Anakin's strength, Dooku's precision, Obi-Wan's patience, and every defeat Darth Vader had survived all at once. And maybe that was his deadliest secret of all. Anakin Skywalker became famous through his victories. Darth Vader became invincible through his defeats.